Hello, hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Community Ledger. Again, my name is Andrea Banu. Thank you for joining me today. We have a lot to delve into. It looks like Doge has decided to withdraw a lot of funds from HHS, and they're starting to. Oh, they also said they're going to take money back because there was supposed to be a museum erected in the honor of Dr. Anthony Fauci that they have said, no, 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 that is going to be a waste of money. We are not going to allow that. And so I want to get into this video that was just done with this interview with Stephen Miller on CNN with regards to all of this wasteful spending. And I also want to read two articles. One, they talk about how Doge is not going to allow this museum to be funded. And also, it does look like Rand Paul, I'm not sure if you guys know, but Rand Paul was giving Fauci the business during COVID. And so it looks like he's partnered with other senators so that they can drag Fauci again. Now, we got to get into it because we know Biden gave him a preemptive pardon so he wouldn't be litigated for anything that happened during COVID. But listen, everything is coming out. Everything is coming out, and I cannot wait to get into it. So just go ahead, get yourself something to drink, and let's start the show. Okay, again, thank you and welcome back. If you have not already, please do subscribe because I appreciate all of the love and support. And I know I said a mouthful before that intro, but what's happening is Dr. Fauci's name is coming up in conversation again. Supposedly, there was going to be a museum that was going to be erected in his honor. And Doe said, no, 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 we are not wasting any more taxpaying dollars on you, Dr. Fauci, okay? And then Rand Paul and several other senators are wanting to dismantle HHS and dismantle all of the organizations that Dr. Fauci was ahead of so that they can start digging into, I'm just say wasteful spending because they already know that Biden gave him that pardon on his way out. But I don't know if there are little cracks, a few cracks in that system. But Fauci is not out of the in the clear just yet. So let's go ahead and watch this interview with Stephen Miller so we can see exactly what his opinion is on what Doge is doing right now.
Also bankrupting us is all of this wasteful spending, outrageous spending coming out of USAID. And I know that movement continues throughout government. What do you want to say about all of this spending and the efforts by some of these liberal judges to stop President Trump from allowing Elon Musk access to these issues?
So, as you're aware, a radical left judge said that the Secretary of the Treasury cannot access the Treasury computer system. This isn't just unconstitutional. That ruling is an assault on the very idea of democracy itself. What we continue to see here is the idea that rogue bureaucrats who are elected by no one, who answer to no one, who have lifetime tenure jobs, who we would be told can never be fired, which of course is not true, that the power has been cemented and accumulated for years, whether it be with the Treasury bureaucrats or the FBI bureaucrats or the CIA bureaucrats or the USAID bureaucrats, with this unelected shadow force that is running our government and running our country. Donald Trump is engaging in the most important restoration of democracy in over a century, by saying that we are going to restore power to the people through their elected president and his appointed officers. That is the only way we can have true democracy in this country. You elect a president, he appoints a staff, the staff transparently carries out his orders on behalf of the whole nation. But this nonsense, where we have rogue, unelected, unaccountable, and previously unfireable bureaucrats who do whatever the hell they want, with no one telling them and no one controlling them, we're not going to let that happen anymore. We're going to have a democracy, and we're going to have an executive branch that serves the American people, that answers to the American people, and that answers the will of the American voter.
George Soros's prosecutors were reportedly getting money. Did anybody really understand where this money from USAID was going? Stephen, was this being just a slush fund for the Democrats' favorite causes like sex change operations in Guatemala?
Yes, the USAID was a slush fund, first of all, for left-wing projects around the globe, like gender surgeries around the world, diversity, equity, and inclusion policies, crazy Green New Deal climate scams, and every other lunatic left-wing project that is bankrupting this country. But even beyond that, it was funding an army of left-wing activists, these NGOs, non-governmental organizations, NGOs. They get billions and billions of dollars, and they use that money to then infiltrate corporate America, to then infiltrate the public sector, to then resettle, for example, at taxpayer expense, millions of illegal aliens into this country, to drive racist equity policies, to drive radical left gender policies. And so what we've learned is that the left's, this mammoth left-wing power structure, plus left-wing media, wasn't organic. It wasn't created naturally. It was funded by taxpayer dollars. And that is why they are screaming and screeching so loud now. It's because President Trump is cutting off the slush fund to the organizations that hate and hurt America.
And he's also cutting out the people who are getting these intelligence briefings, who may not should not be able to get these intelligence briefings. The president revealing more people that he's revoking national security clearances and intelligence briefing, including Joe Biden, including the 51 spies who lied, including perhaps Anthony Blinken and Jake Sullivan. Of course, Jake Sullivan, one of the mouthpieces of the Russia collusion hoax so many years ago. Your reaction?
Yeah, this is part and parcel of the same issue. People leave government. They are now private citizens, but they continue to have access to sensitive secrets, and then they use that access in conjunction and partnership with the bureaucracy to weaponize intelligence against American people and against political enemies. And President Trump is saying, no, that stops. Drain the swamp isn't just a talking point. It is a mandate. For 4 years, this issue between 2020 and 2024 was endlessly litigated before the American people about weaponized justice, about weaponized intelligence, about weaponized bureaucracy. And the American people elected Donald Trump, and they said, shut it all down. Shut down the weaponization, shut down the abuse of our intelligence system, shut down this entire system that crushes our rights and freedoms at the expense of a privileged few. And that is what he is doing. He is following through on the mandate that the American people gave him to say that our intelligence system and our law enforcement system are not going to be partisan weapons and partisan tools anymore.
And I'm just going to stop it right there. He is dead on with regards to the shadow government that has been pulling the strings in regards to everything that's happening in terms of money, policy, agendas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so this whole Doge situation is crazy because, like I said, for many, many years, I have obviously suspected that, a lot of these NGOs, all of these, what do they call them? Humanitarian efforts are just covers. Okay. They're just covers so that money can be filtered in, and the politicians get their kickbacks on all of them. They approve them, and these millions and millions of dollars are sent all over the world, but they are getting kickbacks. You cannot convince me otherwise. And so, like I said, you cannot convince me that somebody can have a role where they're supposed to be making $174,000 a year and then walk away $9 million richer. $400 million richer. Like, this is crazy. And so now you understand why these people want these positions and will die in these positions, literally in a wheelchair. Their family is willing them in because it is a literal cash cow. They are not doing what they claim to be doing in terms of what's happening in their cities, what they need to be doing, protecting state by state. They are just making money. And these are all taxpayer dollars. I don't even understand how Americans are not enraged by this right now, because so much is coming out in regards to how much of our tax dollars are wasted. It is insane. And now I want to go ahead and pull this up So you can see where that video actually came from. There's an article that Fox News did regarding Doge cancels funding for Fauci museum exhibit. I spoke of that earlier. So I'm going to read a little bit. It says the Department of Health and Human Services cancels over 180 million in contracts overall. 180 million. 180 million. The Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, canceled more than 180 million in contracts over 48 hours, including a nearly $170,000 contract for an Anthony Fauci museum exhibit. Why does this man need a museum exhibit? Please tell me why. Now, we already know, okay, maybe some of you don't. Well, I will let you know now that Fauci has already walked back many of the things that he stated during COVID. Okay, he said that the social distancing was not based in any sort of science. Masks were not going to prevent the spread. The vaccine itself was not going to keep you from, was not going to eliminate transmission. So a lot of this we know was just pulled out of somebody's ass, okay? And it impeded and compromised so many people's lives. Yes, we know that COVID was a real thing, and there were tons of people, many people who were negatively affected, and a lot of people who died because their immune system was compromised, and it was a real virus that hurt a lot of people. However, the negative impact that it had on society, on the elderly, as well as children and their education, as well as the economy, was devastating. And a lot of it was not necessary. And in my personal belief, in my personal opinion, it was just an experiment. Okay. It was, for me, it was an experiment. That's why you hear a lot of people call it the pandemic, because there was a lot of it that was very unnecessary. I myself got COVID 2 times. And once I got it, I was like, word, this is COVID. But nonetheless, I'm not even going to go there, because I'm not even going to go there. But I'm going to focus on this museum exhibit. In the past 48 hours, HHS canceled 62 contracts worth 182 million. The Department of Government Efficiency announced in a Friday social media post. So they just announced this today. These contracts were entirely for administrative expenses. None touched any healthcare programs. Hold on, whoa. I'm going to read that again. These contracts were entirely for administrative expenses. Not a single dollar of the $182 million contracts that were allotted for HHS touched any health care program. Let that sink in. This included terminating a $168,000 contract for an Anthony Fauci exhibit at the NIH Museum. Okay, and so here you see where Doge put that up on Twitter, which not Twitter, X, which Congress is livid about. They are not only upset that they are uncovering all of this wasteful spending and now their pocket's going to be impacted, but they are pissed that the Americans are finding out about it, that he is being very transparent into where this money is going. I'll continue. The news comes as Doge, led by billionaire Elon Musk, has continued to outline vast changes in government spending over the last few weeks, including a plan to eliminate the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, and sweeping changes at the U.S. Treasury Department aimed at eliminating over $100 billion per year in entitlement payments to individuals with no social security number. Okay. Ooh, look how Trump is looking at Fauci. He's looking at him like, the way he is looking at Fauci. Yo, okay. Seemingly no federal agency has been excluded from the reach of Doge, with HHS being just the latest in a string of targets meant to eliminate waste from the federal government. The Fauci exhibit was booked to be finished by July of 2025, but has now been scrapped, along with 182 million in other HHS administrative expenses. With all of these people who have cancer and diabetes and high blood pressure and a host of other ailments and are struggling from day to day just to pay their bills, just to sustain themselves and get the right medicine and get the right food and have the right shelter and just to be able to live comfortably with these illnesses. Why are we wasting $170,000 on a museum exhibit for Anthony Fauci? I want somebody to get into the comments and tell me, how they feel that is necessary. Okay. Fauci has long been a controversial figure and has often clashed with President Donald Trump, who last month revoked the taxpayer funded security detail for the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Defense. Disease. I can't even read. I'm trying to read so fast. Okay, let me slow down. Director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, that was requested for him in 2020 as he became the government's public spokesperson during the COVID-19 pandemic. So, of course, he wanted Secret Service to follow him all around, and Trump was like, no, you are not a president. You do not need that. I think you know when you work for government, at some point your security detail comes off, and you know you can't have them forever, Trump said of the move. We took off some other people too. But you can't have a security detail for the rest of your life because you work for the government. Fauci was given a preemptive pardon by former President Joe Biden on his last day in office, which was meant to shield the infectious disease expert from feared retribution from Trump during his second stint in the White House, though Fauci was not charged with any crimes at the time of the pardon. Now, I am going to get over to this next article because it is imperative that I read it. Let me make sure that it is popping up so that you guys can see it. Let me get in here because I want to tell you what is happening in Congress with Mr. Fauci and Rand Paul, because Rand Paul was not a fan of Fauci. Okay, here we are. Okay, come on now. Let me get all this stuff off my screen. Okay. Timberville introduces legislation to overhaul NIAID, attacks former director Anthony Fauci. NIAID played a crucial role in researching and developing successful treatments and and vaccines to fight COVID-19. So this just came out on the 26th. It was just a few days ago. Okay, so it says on Monday, U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama joined U.S. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky in introducing the NIH Reform Act to completely overhaul the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease. NIAID is one of the 27 institutes and centers that make up the National Institutes of Health, an agency of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. According to the Institute's official website, NIAID conducts and supports basic and applied research to better understand, treat, and ultimately prevent infectious, immunologic, and allergic diseases. For more than 60 years, NIAID research has led to new therapies, vaccines, diagnostic tests, and other technologies that have improved the health of millions of people in the United States and around the world. During the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, NIAID played a crucial role in researching and developing successful treatments and vaccines to fight the virus. However, in an official press release, Senator Timberville claimed that the Institute had unchecked authority that led to disastrous mandates during the COVID-19 pandemic. The senator's NIH Reform Act would divide NIAID into three separate institutes: the National Institute of Allergic Disease, the National Institute of Infectious Diseases, and the National Institute of Immunologic Diseases. Currently, the director of NIAID is appointed by the Secretary of Health and Human Services, a member of the president's cabinet. Now, we all know that was just given to RFK Jr. He was just confirmed, and he is not a fan of Fauci. So under the NIH Reform Act, each new institute would be led by directors subject to confirmation by the Senate and limited to a maximum of 2 5-year terms. Okay, so there's going to be a term limit because Fauci, I think Fauci was in office or over that department since like 1982, which was crazy. Okay, Tuberville and Paul's motivations for dismantling the current structure of NIAID appear directly tied to their disapproval of Dr. Anthony Fauci, who served as the Institute's director from 1984 to 2022. During that time, Fauci also serves as the chief medical advisor to the president. Fauci is one of the most frequently cited authors in the fields of immunology and a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the National Medal of Science, and numerous other awards recognizing his expertise in medical science. However, Fauci has also become an apparent scapegoat for President Trump and his allies who blame him for the devastation caused by the COVID-19 pandemic during Trump's time in office. Anthony Fauci single-handedly shut down small businesses, forced our children out of classrooms, and took away the opportunity for many Americans to say goodbye to loved ones during the COVID pandemic, said Tuberville in his official statement announcing the NIH Reform Act. It's scary to think that someone who was never elected or even confirmed by the Senate had so much power over healthcare decisions that impacted millions of Americans. We need greater transparency in our government's institutions to ensure this never happens again. I'm proud to join Senator Rand Paul in this legislation to increase oversight of the NIH and give the American people greater transparency surrounding our government institutions. So there you have it. So Tuberville's portrayal of Fauci is being solely responsible for the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic comes just a month after President Trump removed Fauci's federal security detail. Trump made that decision despite reports that Fauci had faced numerous credible death threats since leaving public office. Additionally, Tuberville's criticism of Fauci and other NIAID directors for not going through the congressional confirmation process sharply contrasts with his own praise for the Department of Government Efficiency, headed by Elon Musk, the richest man in the world and Trump's largest 2024 campaign donor, who was never confirmed by Congress. So, this type of reorganization is nothing new in the aftermath of J. Edgar Hoover's decades-long tenure as head of the FBI. Congress passed a law in 1976 limiting the FBI director to a single 10-year term. And as recently as 2012, Congress eliminated one center within the NIH and replaced it with a new one. Tuberville's press release concluded, in the aftermath of the damage done by pandemic-era mandates and restrictions, Congress must enact the NIH Reform Act to ensure that one official cannot claim the unquestioned authority to dictate the federal response to public health emergencies. So there you have it. I thought that was really profound. If any of you were familiar with the back and forth between Senator Rand Paul and Fauci, then you will know that this is no surprise. Senator Rand Paul is a physician himself, and the entire time that Fauci was overseeing what we should do on day-to-day basis with regards to COVID, Senator Rand Paul was dragging him for filth. Okay, he was like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. This is not necessary. This is crazy. And like I said, now that it has all come to pass, that seems to be true. There was no need for the social distancing. There was no science based with that decision. There's multiple articles online regarding it. So social distancing concept that was pushed upon by Anthony Fauci, there was no scientific backing for that. So unfortunately, as you know, a lot of people were not with their loved ones when they needed to be. A lot of churches and places of worship were penalized and criminalized for congregating and for convening with their parishioners and their community. And it was, to me, it was just devastating. People weren't allowed to go and spend time with their family for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it was just awful, especially for the elderly, just awful. Even the impact that it had on our education system, because a lot of those children were being homeschooled and doing school via the internet, and really fell behind. So that's shutting down of everything really had a negative impact on our community, on America, and the world as a whole. And we're coming to find out that a lot of it just wasn't necessary, and a lot of it was not based in medical science or facts or anything that stated it was necessary and beneficial. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. And so I definitely agree with this. one person that is not appointed or does not have been or has not been voted for should not be allowed to have that level of power over all the decisions made. And of course, the president ultimately agreed and acquiesced to these decisions, but they looked to Fauci as, a leader and, the one who has the medical background and a better understanding of these things. And a lot of it turned out to be untrue. And I don't know if he just made it up or if he just didn't know what he was talking about, was like, I got to tell them something because I'm overwhelmed in this situation. Don't know. Can't speculate. But nonetheless, I do think it is important to kind of chop down those health organizations so that there can be a lot more transparency moving forward. And so something like 2020 and the COVID pandemic does not happen again. It had a very, very negative impact on a lot of people's lives. A lot of people were hurt, not only emotionally, but physically. And God willing, we never have to endure something like that again. But what say you? What is your opinion on the dismantling of the NIH, as well as DOGE eliminating these additional funds for a museum in honor of Dr. Fauci's likeness? So I would love for you to jump in the comments and tell me your opinion about all of this wasteful spending. Is it pissing you off, or do you feel like it's still a hoax? Are you one of those Democrats that feels like this is all an illusion and it's just a manipulation game and somehow I got it wrong? Please tell me. I am not opposed to someone educating me on things I do not know. This is supposed to be a wonderful platform for us to dialogue, communicate. I do not sit up here and profess to know everything, and I can always learn more. So again, if you have not subscribed, please do so and go ahead and press that bell so that you can be notified anytime I load something new. I love you. I thank you. And this is the Community Ledger. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe and watch the next video by clicking right here.